Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, perhaps in honor of Bob Marley's birthday today, Kit Daniels posted this story: marijuana is likely ineffective against depression. Now, this is according to researchers. They say cannabis could potentially help stabilize moods and ease depression. These are neuroscientists at the University of Buffalo's Research Institute on Addictions. They found that the chemicals in cannabis are comparable to the endocannabinoids that our own body produces, which combat pain and anxiety. And these findings also follow a recent study from some Australian researchers, which found that marijuana can ease chronic pain much more effectively than many conventional medications, which they say this drug is easier than opioid medications, which are highly addictive and can cause accidental overdoses. And, you know, I had a dad. My father had to go through chemotherapy. I saw my 200-pound, 6'2" father going through chemotherapy. He ended up weighing about 125 pounds afterward. And the only thing that worked for him was medicinal marijuana. It was the only thing that helped him. His doctor was able to get it to him. So I have personally seen the benefits of this. But Anthony Gucciardi goes on to say, just to remind people that it doesn't have to be something that can get you high. They use industrial grade hemp, which is a high growing variety of cannabis, and it can be used in protein shakes, building materials, and oils that are used for the prevention and treatment of disease. It does not get you high. There are some very beneficial uses for this plant. A lot of people are pushing for it. We've just saw recently Peter Thiel, the founder of PayPal, became one of the biggest investors in medicinal marijuana. The Department of Justice announced last year that Native American tribes are free to grow and sell marijuana on their land. So we're definitely seeing a huge move towards medicinal marijuana becoming an accepted part of our society. There really is no reason that a plant is banned. But they also talk about some other benefits of marijuana, that it could help sufferers of PTSD. This is a study last year that found that patients who smoke marijuana experienced a 75% loss in post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. So obviously that could really help our troops. Now, the Marine veteran who killed Chris Kyle was allegedly suffering from PTSD. But Infowars reporter Joe Biggs is going to break down some new revelations in that case that could affect the mainstream media's narrative.
Joe Biggs here with Infowars.com. Now today I want to talk about Eddie Ray Roth, the former Marine who is responsible for shooting and killing Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield at a ranch in Texas back on February 2nd, 2013. The official narrative is that this guy had PTSD, was battle hardened, and he essentially spazzed out, flipped out, turned the gun on these two guys, shot and killed them. Now, after an article that came out yesterday at The Blaze, a veterans group claims to have uncovered potentially significant evidence about the Chris Kyle's alleged killer. And what they're saying in the article, they say that Eddie Ray Roth was a FOBIT. A FOBIT is a man who sits on an FOB, which is a forward observation base, and doesn't do anything. He plays solitaire. He runs errands for commanders who don't go outside the wire, probably helps with supplies, maybe works in the cafeteria or the DFAC, and does a lot of legwork around there. Never goes outside the wire, doesn't see any combat. And they were saying he was stationed at Balad Air Base, and that's a place that I was at for some time in Iraq, Camp Anaconda. But I was in the little area in the back that was shunned off. We didn't really get any lights or power. We were the guys who went outside the wire when we went into the DFAC. We were all dirty and smelly and covered in blood, and people would look at us like we were crazy. And this is what would happen to a lot of the FOBITs on the base. They would take our stories and then create their own story out of that so they could, write home to mom, dad, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, and seem like they're, some kind of badass for actually going outside the wire, when in all actuality, they're the ones scooping our mashed potatoes and putting them on our plate. This guy was said to have had a very low ASVAB score. That is a test you take before you enter the military. Based off that score, you get a job if you have or you'll get a job based off of your score. So if you have a low score like this guy did, then you become a fobbit. You don't do much at all. You do a lot of legwork. If you have a higher score, then you can go into special forces, things like that, aviation, so forth and so on. This guy had a very low score, which means he was probably a pretty stupid guy and very easy to brainwash. So this is where I'm at now. If the guy didn't have PTSD, why would he have taken out Chris Kyle? This guy could have been easily brainwashed. And they're saying at the Boston bombings, people saw the Kraft logo on people's hats and things like that. Now, this makes me think maybe Chris Kyle knew about the plan at the Boston bombing and wanted no part of it. And they took a guy like this, Eddie Ray Roth, and got him to go out there and essentially take out this guy who was a big figurehead, someone that they know that could go out and say something and get a lot of people's attention and get a lot of publicity. It's something to think about. So tell us what you think in the comments below, whether or not you think this is something that could have happened. But I do find it very interesting to know that this was a guy who didn't see any kind of combat experience, was never mortared, was never shot at, anything like that. And then all of a sudden, he just flips out and shoots two people like that. So continue watching our reports here at Infowars.com. I'm Joe Biggs.
Blackhawk helicopters were engaged in war games in Miami this week when all of a sudden, one of the choppers dropped a bomb-like ammunitions container overboard. Whoops. Now, what are they doing flying choppers around Miami, low flying in residential areas with boxes full of ammunition for training exercises? Now, they said the silver ammo tin and its contents were recovered Thursday. The police would only say that the container was retrieved safely somewhere in the Northwest County and that it did not strike anyone's home. Oh, thank goodness. Now, Wayne Black of Wayne Black & Associates, he's a security and weapons expert. He told the news there that the container that fell would have held 1,000 rounds of ammunition and would have weighed about 50 pounds. When contacted, an Army Public Affairs officer declined to comment on this errant ammunitions canister or to what extent that they could have been held accountable, but he'd only say that his unit's mantra is safety, safety, safety. But obviously not the safety of the people there in Miami. And heads up, if you are there in Miami, the Army says that the exercises are going to continue through next Thursday. The public is going to receive no notice of when and where these war games are going to be conducted. And the Army's release said that every precaution will be taken to mitigate risks for the safety of all. So again, why are we having these live training exercises, these war game exercises? We're seeing them again in Miami, Chicago, California, cropping up all over the country. And it's getting pretty serious because now they're carrying around live ammo and oops, accidentally dropped. That's a mission fail, if you ask me. Kind of like how they dropped all of the supplies there to ISIS recently. Now, open carriers in Washington state are planning a demonstration. They are protesting after the state there banned them from bringing their firearms into the Senate viewing area. Jakari Jackson has more.
This is Jakari Jackson for Infowars.com. Last month, the Washington State Senate said open carriers are no longer welcome in their viewing galleries. Lieutenant Governor Brad Owen announced that the public will no longer be able to openly carry firearms in the state Senate's chambers public viewing area. We're not going to treat them any differently than everyone else, he said to open carry advocates. Owen said that it didn't make sense to allow people to openly carry firearms while banning backpacks, signs, and umbrellas. The last I checked, backpacks and umbrellas were not covered under the United States Constitution. But in response to this, open carry advocates are having a rally tomorrow, the 7th, and we have gun owners prepare for arrest at Washington State Capitol. The Washington State Patrol is expected to arrest anyone entering the viewing chambers openly carrying a firearm, although individuals with a concealed pistol license will be allowed to concealed carry weapons into the chambers. And of course, we know in Washington State, Bloomberg and Bill Gates are up there pushing their anti-gun agenda, so we'll just have to wait and see how this turns out. And last year, you guys may also recall how Arkansas gun range declaring itself to be a Muslim-free zone. But now, after the massacre that happened in Pakistan, Pakistani teachers are now being able to carry in the classroom. After 150 children and educators were killed by Taliban terrorists in a brutal massacre in December, the Pakistani government gave permission to teachers to be armed while at work. I'm very happy to see this, whether it's in Pakistan or here in the States. I think it's much better to arm the teachers than to give the kids Campbell's soup cans and tell them to throw them at their attackers. And we'll end with this. Murder victim's sister on gun control group. Don't use her to push your agenda.
Sharing your story so other people would understand why we strengthen our gun laws.
I'm pretty versed about the bill, and I'm actually very against it. I'm very pro-gun, as is Jessie, so I would really hope that you guys don't use her story for anything.
Okay.
Because the only thing that would have saved her was a gun.
That's it for now. You can find more reports at Infowars.com.
Every year we make resolutions to lose weight and get in shape. And the truth is, it's hard, even with diet and exercise, because of toxic food in our environment that is stressing our bodies more than ever before. Working with experts in nutrition and biochemistry, I found that super high-quality nutraceuticals, in addition to my diet and exercise, were the answers that synergistically worked. I could see the drastic changes every day with the amount of weight I've lost, my increased stamina, and more of a twinkle in my eye. That's why we are now so excited to launch the Infowars Life Resolution Pack, combining 3 essential formulations: oxygen-based cleanser Oxy Powder, the Secret 12 bioavailable vitamin B12, and your choice of super female or super male vitality. Now all available at a discounted price to you and your family to bring in the new year and make 2015 a true success. That's InfowarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. 2015 is the year to do it, and it all starts at InfowarsLife.com.